At the UN, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy addressed the General Assembly a short time ago, and he again urged the international community to take action to stop Russia because he says Putin wants to expand the war in Europe.
We must use everything we have together to force the aggressor to stop. And only then do we have a real chance that this arms race will not end in catastrophe for all of us. If it takes weapons to do it, if it takes pressure on Russia, then it must be done. And it must be done now. Otherwise, Putin will keep driving the war forward wider and deeper. And we told you before, Ukraine is only the first, and now Russian drones are already flying across Europe, and Russian operations are already spreading across countries. And Putin wants to continue this war by expanding it. And no one can feel safe right now.
Perhaps there is new hope from Zelenskyy as he watches a new show of U.S. support for Ukraine being viewed as a complete 180 from Trump's previous position. You'll remember it was just a few months ago Zelenskyy arrived at the White House for a meeting with the Trump administration that ended on bad terms. And the U.S. president then rolled out the red carpet in Alaska for Vladimir Putin 6 weeks ago. Now, Trump says Russia is under, quote, bad leadership and that Ukraine could be victorious and win back its lost territory. The CBC's Chris Reyes is back with us live from the United Nations on this story. So, Chris, let's talk a little bit more about what we heard from President Zelenskyy following, again, that shift in perspective from the United States yesterday.
Yeah, on that point, Arthi, there were definitely signs in this speech by President Zelenskyy that he had been meeting with President Trump, and I'll touch on that in just a second. But what really struck me about this speech, Arthi, is how different it is from the last three speeches that President Zelenskyy gave here at the General Assembly during this high-level week. You know, the first one that he gave was by video address less than a year after Russia attacked his country. And back then, he presented the international community with a 10-point peace plan, and he seemed hopeful that countries around the world would gather around this peace plan. This time, it's very different. He sounds angry, exhausted, that 4 years later, he is still here, having to fight against Russia, having to fight for peace in his country. And instead of a peace plan, he's bringing a weapons plan. Have a listen to him explain it.
The 21st century isn't much different from the past. If a nation wants peace, it still has to work on weapons. It's sick. But that's the reality. Not international law, not cooperation. Weapons decide who survives. Excellencies, you know perfectly well international law doesn't work fully unless you have powerful friends who are truly willing to stand up for it. And even that doesn't work without weapons. It's terrible, but without it, things would be even worse.
And Arthi, he spoke to the success of Operation Spiderweb, that Ukrainian drone attack on Russian air bases back in the summer that was considered to be wildly successful. So President Zelenskyy telling fellow world leaders, hey, we have all of this new information, we have all of this new technology, and we are willing to share it with you so that we can fight for peace. There are a lot of tinges in that statement that's obviously influenced by President Trump. This is the first time that I've heard President Zelenskyy go this far in criticizing international and global institutions, and really saying that it's up to individual countries to fight for their own peace, and together that's what will work. I mean, that's right out of a Trump speech playbook, and we know that they met yesterday, and we know there was that shift in policy, quite dramatic. I want to read you the post that President Trump put up on Truth Social. He said, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back. I mean, fight and all of Ukraine back. That is a significant shift, given that just before President Trump met with President Putin, he basically told Ukraine that in order to reach a peace deal, they're going to have to make some concessions of land. And now he's saying the opposite. And it seems that President Zelenskyy is giving a bit of a nod to President Trump in this speech, especially in his use of the word action, because we heard that from President Trump as well. Enough with the words, enough with the statements, it's time for action.
And Chris, the UN Security Council is also taking up the issue of AI. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. I have to take a deep breath, because these high-level weeks is all about tackling all of the world's challenges, Arthi. So you're dealing with two major wars, you're dealing with regional conflicts, and then you are dealing with issues like AI, this brand new technology that can transform the way we all live. And in a sideline meeting at the Security Council, they're going to be talking about that, just sort of these early days of figuring out rules around this game-changing technology. And last year, I believe, the AI issued the first ever report outlining what AI governance should look like globally. And so the United Nations really trying to take a lead in talking about guardrails when it comes to AI, talking about setting some rules down along with other countries, because again, this is one of those issues that is borderless, one of the many issues that are being dealt here with the UN that cannot be dealt with by one country alone.
Thanks for this, Chris. That is the CBC's Chris Reyes at the United Nations.